don't know why I got the part in that, but I remember being asked if I would do it.
I remember exactly why you got the part, because that reporter kind of drove everything forward and had to be funny, and I went, Michael Hurst is just the person we should try and get for that.
Oh, that's cool. That was because it was a funny. I mean, it was funny to do, and I remember when I got asked to do it, I was like, "You're having a reporter going back to XENA time, but XENA isn't coming to the modern. What you know?" And
XENA, warrior princess. To many, she's seen as a savior, a protector of the downtrodden and the innocent.
An episode like You Are There is really a mixture of a lot of other episodes from a costuming point of view. So there are costumes in that episode that, most of the costumes in that episode came from other episodes.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Are you Eve?
My favorite episode that had Eve in it, hands down without a doubt, was You Are There.
Do you wish to join our prayer circle?
No, not today, thanks.
I loved being able to play that scene. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was especially funny that Eve would be the character to just randomly start cussing.
You want to know about my mother? I will tell you about my mother! And you little
Well, we had Eve blurt out all these obscenities, and then we bleeped them, and actually, I think that the director, John Lang, and the people on the day decided that they were just going to add that, and we could take it out if we wanted to.
And let her go.
If my mother is with Aries, you can bet she's got a pretty good reason!
The funniest part of that was that I was working, so I wasn't able to get there in time for the table read. So I don't know how they presented it at the table read, but the next day I'm on set, and I show up to do this scene. And of course, in the script, none of the cursing is actually spelled out. It's just, you know, beep, beep, beep. And you put in whatever seems appropriate. And it comes time for us to do this episode, or do this particular scene. They call action. I just start swearing up a storm with Michael.
You
Hey, get off me!
Stay the hell away from my mother! You stay the away from me, or I will kick your
Not the kind of words you'd expect to hear from Eve, the messenger of Eli.
The thing about it is she's so pretty, it's beautiful, and you know, and I never forget when she actually started yelling these words, man. And even I was taken aback because she just really said it, you know, and she said everything you could think of. It was, yeah, and it was coming out of that face, those words, was funny, you know, really.
Whatever happened to walking the path of light, Eve?
And all of the crew start freaking out, because none of them, of course, have read, well, few of them have read the episode. They have no idea why I'm cussing or why I'm allowed to be cussing on TV. I mean, this doesn't make any sense to them. And then, you know, couple that with the fact that everyone who did know didn't think I'd actually be cussing. Now, I don't know what they thought the alternative would be. I couldn't figure out what in the world they thought I was going to do, but they weren't expecting it. And I gotta tell you, everybody kept telling me, they would come up to me and say, you are releasing so much energy for me. I mean, anything I'm pissed off about, I'm not even pissed anymore, which I loved. It was so fun for everybody. And the way they shot that episode was so fast that, you know, there were very few takes. There were very few angles we had to get because, of course, it was from the point of view of the news camera crew. And it was just brilliant. It was so fast. Everybody was in such a good mood. It was such a great way to explore.
That you and XENA and Aries can continue your bloody menage a trois.
And then didn't she punch me or something?
Yeah, she
something
punched
happened.
You,
She punched me. Yeah, and oh yeah, down in the mud and all that. I mean, because you just wouldn't expect it to be from her.
There were the Norse costumes, which came from a trilogy. They obviously had a historical reference to Norse wear, but they also had a bit of a fairy tale element to them as well.
A world where the skills of the delicious goddess no longer lift us to heights of almost intolerable pleasure.
We used a lot of armour, and we used, I think that from a practical point of view, we really started to get somewhere with the armour, and that episode sort of showed it particularly well.
Beowulf.
And we were using real metal and beating it and aging it, and we somehow managed to get this process quite fast, which is one of the problems really in making things out of metal. A lot of the time you have to mould things, but by that episode we'd on a technical level, I think that we'd got armour really happening.
Mankind has free will, and XENA, she exercises hers with abandon.
And the other thing that was really interesting in that episode from a practical point of view with the Valkyrie costumes, which came from the reference that we were looking at for those were Burne-Jones paintings. And then you're trying to make something three-dimensional on a person that moves around, and they don't necessarily relate. So there's a lot of problem solving. That's where they started, and what we ended up with really, you know, just has sort of it's a flavour that comes from those paintings. But that was where the Valkyrie paintings came from.
Who wouldn't want to be a god? That's right. Who wouldn't want to be a god? Go ahead. Take a bite, it's good.
And we ended up using urethane, which we dropped in metallic pigments, so that they were very durable costumes and also sort of showed this intricacy in the moulding. So there's quite a plant feeling to them. They're like leaves. And it was always good to have an episode where on a practical level you discovered a new way of doing things.
It's not gonna happen. You hear me, XENA? You stay away from Valhalla or you know what's gonna happen to you!
You got to be the probing reporter in the news station with XENA and Gabrielle in the chair.
That's right. Oh, that's right, that whole sequence.
The whole sequence, and then you had Odin come in and he's talking, he tries to put on his invisible shield.
Yeah.
I'm a god, you fool. Who wouldn't?
Damn it. Why does she want to steal the golden apples?
So she can become a god!
It defies logic.
It defies logic, but we never tipped our hand that this was odd, and XENA slaps the guy's hand for trying to put the microphone on Renee's.
That's right, that's right.
Hey, watch where you put your hands.
What's up?
Yeah, you watch where you put your hands, buddy.
XENA, welcome.
So we kind of broke the fourth wall and said, okay, this guy's shamelessly there,
That's right.
and we never tip our hand as to...
Which is why it was really funny when we came into some of the questions. I'd be there with a microphone, and XENA would be looking at the microphone like, what is it? And looking at the camera. It was really funny.
You realize Odin has vowed to kill you should you return to Valhalla. Would you care to comment on that threat?
XENA?
It was great to have Kevin Smith there at really bottom of the barrel. I think we had done Old Aries Had a Farm already, and
That's right.
he had now drifted on and was just kind of a lowlife.
Lowlife, drinking lowlife.
A drinking lowlife who wanted to get laid.
Ares, the former god of war.
Oh, I'm not.
Crap. We found Ares, the former god of war, half naked and stinking of booze in a bordello.
We thought it would have been really funny for me to be interviewing myself and do all that double thing. And we could have done it, but we just didn't have the time. It was kind of one of those mature calls you have to make.
But hey, it's better to be working than not working, right?
Of course it is.
The guy who played it, Peter Rowley, is an old friend of mine, as it happens. And they wanted it to sort of be like the same character. And when he put they had an old face piece left over from when I played it. So it kind of had me in that face piece, because that was built on my face. Weird, actually. It's,
Raw numbers? Nah, she's a drop in the bucket. But XENA has sent me some pretty heavy hitters.
so he put that on, and then he'd say, how do I say this? Oh, you gotta say it like this. You gotta think Jimmy Durante. You know, we did all this whole stuff. So he kind of looks and sounds like me. He's a little bit bigger, but you know.
Elinus of Mycenae, Valaska, Mark Anthony, Callisto. You can even make a case for Caesar himself.
It was a writer, Chris Black, who I really, really like. He went on to now run the new Enterprise show, and he did Cleopatra with us, but well-written, funny script.
Who killed you?
You did. Begging your pardon, I think you were drunk. You slit me open from here.
Hey, come on, Fancy Pants. I thought you were in a hurry.
Get your hands off of me. I'm in the middle of an interview, you impudent cur.
Yeah. You may have been a big shot on Earth, but down here, you're just dead. Get used to it.
Come on. Cena's evil. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I was a god, a living god, and that bitch took me out.
We thought it was a perfect chance in this episode to show, to answer the question as to Xena and Gabrielle's sexual relations.
Right.
But of course, we could never answer that question.
course you
So we can
couldn't.
pose the question
Yeah.
and get them all ready for the answer, and then.
Technically.
What? It's dead? The battery... This is the world's greatest story, and you're telling me the battery is dead? I don't believe this! Oh, man!
It was a perfect question for Nigel to ask too, you know, like, I've got the scoop, you know, I've got the scoop, you know, and I thought it was hilarious, actually, and the fact that the battery died. I mean, you wouldn't answer the question. Why would you?
You wouldn't.
You know,
You
keep them guessing, and they'll come back. You know.